So, hey there everyone, I'm Lycanth, and obviously I'm playing Space Engineers. I'm just showcasing here the 3 walking robots I've actually made. I've followed no blueprints or no advice or anything like that. These are ones that I've just come up with myself. As you can see, they do vary in complexity and obviously their function as well, how they actually walk. I guess I'll start off with this one, which is the most simplest walker you could possibly ever make, and it does actually walk. The function of it is this block in the middle here just rotates round and it pushes the leg. Well, this actually rotates backwards, lifting the leg vertical, and then it pushes into the ground, which lifts the whole object, but because it's offset, it actually takes a step forward for a single rotation. One motor does all the work, the other one there is just lame, so not lame, you know, it just doesn't respond to anything, it just sits there and does nothing, as I said twice over. And as you can see, simple function, one battery, one cockpit. I'll showcase that one in a second. This one itself is actually the complex one to build. Complex because, well, look at my wheels are broken up, the blocks don't look right. Like a graphics glitch. Well, I just had it walking over here a second ago in a way. Looks like a little bit of graphics offset. Okay. Well, yeah, this one's complex to build because it has 2 motors that are stuck to each other across the same beam. Now, to look at that, you would think, okay, I'll just start here, place a block, place them, put them onto them ones, put a motor and block it backwards. You can't do that. You cannot do that with Space Engineers. Even if you start from this side and build outwards that way, the fact is it's mirrored and then you won't be able to build inwards because of the space needed. This one, like I say, is complex to build because each foot requires an additional support where these middle blocks here are actually merge blocks. One merge block there, one merge block there. Bottom of the entire rack is on a piston and this is raised off the ground, so you have to lift this so it combines a merge block here and here and a merge block here and here, so it pushes upwards and latches on, but it actually took me about 5 hours to figure that one out. I did a lot of experimenting trying to figure out how the hell to do it, and when I did that, the merge blocks, maybe because they were on pistons and that was on a leg and it was arguing, but it actually froze my computer. Currently I'm running at 15 frames a second, as you can probably see. My computer's not powerful, mildly average-ish, slightly above gaming PC, but it's not the best. So it locked out with that, which caused issues for me and made me panic basically, because I remember most of it. So really this is actually the most complex to build. And to look at this one, you'd think this is, but it's actually not. The entire walking mechanism works off just 2 timer blocks. No programming, no mechanicals involved to make it function. It's just this one runs for actually only 1 second, and then it tells this one to run for 1 second, which tells that one to run for 1 second, which tells that one. So it's a repeating self back and forth loop, which you can stop with the keys, of course, but within the function of one tick, that one ticking, it tells the legs to extend, and then when that one ticks, it tells the feet to extend, and then when that one ticks again, it tells the legs to contract. When that one ticks again, it tells the feet to contract. It's done, as you can see, with the ones that are extended in a zigzag motion. This one here, and the rear one extended by the feet but not the legs. I've had to do that because of stability, and obviously if I want it to walk forward, I need the rear ones facing backwards to push away. The front ones pull forward, the back ones push. So in a way that might be its complex nature, that even though this leg here, and the one at the back here is part of the same function, taking a step forward, whilst these ones are lifted, this one is reversed in pushing and pulling, so it's actually on its own separate group, whereas these 2 front ones, they are in their own group. But that was technical. I'd actually describe this one as technical to figure out how to get it to function. Again, using groups, using the timer blocks, and generally just figuring things out, because timing is key. With this one, it functions simple because it's just motors that go round in a circle. There are two sets, of course. You can control them independently, the left ones and the right ones, of course. But essentially it's still a basic function where the motor just goes round in a circle, where obviously this one, it relies on timing and spacing to move the right steps. With this one, it's an ultra simplified version of, I guess, that one. But again, you wouldn't think it, but I started off with this one first, essentially the hardest one. I always work backwards like that. So the hardest one was built first, then I built this, and then I actually built that one, because I was thinking, how simple could I get this to all work? Okay, so enough from me chatting on. I've got a second one over there actually, because I've just figured out how to copy and paste. Oh man, I'm amateur. I'm still an amateur for this game, how complex it is. So we'll go for the simple one. Not a fantastic view, but obviously we could change that. So again, with the function on this one, I've just got in the functions bar 1 and 2, change the RPM. I don't want to increase the speed, I need to decrease it, because I need the legs to work backwards. And of course I can just show that. Spin dogs, someone's come outside. So as you can see, it goes backwards, it pushes, lifts away and steps forward. Very simple function, one step, one movement. It's actually, in some ways, the second fastest one actually. The big long leg one in the background isn't the fastest, because it does also slide. But obviously if I increase the speed of the motor, I'll increase the speed of the step. And as you can see, it does lift the whole frame up. 18 RPM is probably good steady movements for it. You can probably crank it up, but you're probably looking at all chaos. Let's go up to 30. As you can see on the return leg, it kicks the foot upwards. But hey, it's moving. Okay, I got no gyros on it, so I won't actually stop it before I hit the other one. So I've got no gyros to steer it at the minute, but right now, functionality, simple, and it actually works. And if you have more of these, multiple legs on the single frame, essentially you could have one set retracting whilst the other ones are walking, and vice versa, like the ones in the background. And you could probably pick up pretty decent speed, given that you have just constant push, and it will move pretty nice. Okay, so that was a simple demonstration. Again, just a little close up there. Simple frame, a few sticks up, one motor, and then you start from the middle, of course. Here you go out. Once you've got these two motors in place, you lock them in place. And then build the arm off the side. You may have to go back and rotate this one round to lift it up to give you the height to put the pieces on the bottom. And it did take a bit of tweaking to get this shape, and it looks like you'd be like, that's an obvious shape. But actually it took a little bit of tweaking, because I like to make sure on things. So if we just have a look, that's 3 blocks high. Motor, 3 blocks high again. And this one is, I think it's about 9, something like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it's 7 long, 2 wide. This one on the top here was just part of a mess about, really. I tried to double the thickness to see if that would help it and such. But I will say one thing, that actually the length here is key. You can't have it a block more or a block less, or else it just doesn't work the same as it should do. When the block reaches up on the top here, it actually slides over and then pushes down, so you won't get stuck or anything like that. You could even put a frame across the top, building up and over. Simple frame like that, so if you go really fast, it stops it from being kicked off the top. At least it will whack against the top bar. Control right click. Okay. And repeat again. No, go down. There we are. Yeah, that's it. Again, so that's just a simple function. One motor, one function. Go fast, go slow. Moving on to the more interesting ones, I guess. With this one then, provided my legs aren't broken off, which I will happily reload the game if it is, for whatever reason. It's kind of saying that maybe it is. That's just bizarre. So anyway, yeah, with this one, these blocks in the middle here, if you want, really, you could get away with making metal wheels. Just make blocks in the shape of a diamond or a square slightly altered, and it will actually roll on the wheels themselves. So you could have infinite diameter wheels, which will essentially give you infinite speed. Well, unless the game's maxes out or something, because these wheels obviously they only go up to about 300 kilometers an hour. But if you've got a motor that turns 100 RPM, but 50-60 foot wheel, that will translate into a lot of ground covered really, really fast. You can do that on the inside of here to get a bit of speed out of it. I don't know why it's doing that thing then. Get away. There we are. But yeah, the legs obviously go around and it simply functions. I'm going to see if I haven't had a graphics glitch. Might still work. So with this one, maybe slightly more complex on the controls. You use, as I've got it set up, 2 and 3 at the same time. 2 and 3 will increase the RPM. It will increase the RPM on one side and decrease on the other. Again, this is things I had to figure out in time, because now the motors are facing outwards of each other. As you can see, them ones are facing to the left and them ones are facing to the right. Forward one way is backwards to the other. So 2 and 3, even though one's decrease and one's increase, when I press them, provided this hasn't broke. No, it hasn't, but they're weirdly offset. They are very weirdly offset. But as you can see, its function is simple. Bring up the speed. I can crank this one all the way up to 60 odd RPM, whatever it is, but it does go mental. So this one does have gyros on it. You can steer it with gyros, fine tweaks. I have also put thrusters on it as well, because it is enabled to fly. You have to kind of lock the legs at the right place. It's a little bit tedious to control, but as you can see, it can make its way up. I would do spectator cam, but I actually have no idea how to. And to decrease the speed, because sometimes I can give you more grip, you just press 1 and 4 at the same time, and that would just bring the speed down, bring down the RPM, of course. But let's say if I wanted to turn left, I would, let's go for a decrease in speed, so let's decrease that one, provided, okay, it's opposite. But as you can see, it's doing this wiggly thing now, but it can turn. The RPM's right. Okay, I've increased that one. I was meant to decrease it, but I've increased it by mistake. Anyway, it can turn. Let's crank it right up. Let's go like that. To a certain point, it will just collapse and break. Of course, it's only a motor. But as you can see, a little bit of brute force there, but I can actually turn with the blocks themselves. So if I bring down the speed, oh, so close to matching up. No, that's one of the drawbacks, I guess, of this one is if you do desync the feet, it can prove a little bit fun to get back into place. Let's bring down the speed, and that's close enough for me. I think maybe one more. Slow down and then there we are. So yeah, as simple as this sort of one looks, doing a roam motion, it's complex to build. And yeah, those blocks have slid somehow, and now they're offset to the motor. Yeah. Let's just turn this round using the gyros again. I'll lock the engines and then I'll put on the thrusters just to show you. Can't remember what it is, a certain place. It kind of has to go, I think, back, the back. So if we whack on 9 there, press space, I'll find out in a second. Oh, it is back. So now we have a kind of little fighter type thing that can walk, and its ability to turn like so is quite weak. But again, this thing's not meant to be going around a million miles an hour. It's just meant to be used for like short hops and little things. And but yeah, all fully flight capability. There's another, the very first thing I actually made. I'll maybe go back to that one because it's not exactly feet based. Again, with this, you need to bring the legs up. Just land it. Go on. The thrusters take care of If the feet were down, they will break. I've tried it before, and they just died, smashed right off. Obviously, rebuilding it was a pain in the butt, so I had to just do a reload. Yes, that's a little walking ship. Very simple in function. Let's have a little close look. So, with those, they're meant to be on top of it. As you can see, it's glitched out and they're offset for whatever reason, which is actually really damn annoying. I have to just reload the game, but it's just two motors. These ones are again set loose, so they don't do any force whatsoever. It's just the ones on the frame itself do all the work. 3 little gyros to help with movement, the battery, and some thrusters again just for a bit of fun flying around. Because, well, you know, it can move quick, but sometimes you need to get from A to B a little bit quicker, but have some fun doing the walking. The weight of the legs, I've got armour blocks on the insides and then just light blocks on the outside. It does help if the legs are heavy. It does put down a bit more force, a bit more traction. But you know, if you want to change that or even change the length, anything you want really. This design is most likely scalable. You may have some issues up to a certain scale when weight does obviously really become an issue, but it may be very much scalable. Obviously this one, I don't know, I might try build it as large blocks and see how big I can actually make it, or of course I'm going to see if I can put more legs on it. So let's go to the really interesting looking one, which is the Spider. And as you can see, I've done a bit of parking lot. I was going to abandon this place basically because I was looking to move on, but I decided to stay a little bit. So with this one, as you can see right there, we have just 2 blocks, 1 and 2, start clock, stop clock, and that is the entire function of this whole thing. You won't be able to use the timers to turn, but of course for your gyros, and that negates the need for that. So just having a look at this one, tab. I do have thrusters at the top there, as you can see, pushing it down, because again the biggest issue with these blocks on the ground, for whatever reason, no matter the weight, no matter the surface area, is grip. Even with these wheels it still slides, which is really annoying because these types I can't adjust the grip. It's only with the ones with suspension that you can do that, but when I put suspension on it, the wheels can move because they're attached by those hydraulics. I can't control the wheels. I can't tell them to turn, to stop, to brake, to nothing. You know, pressing P to put on the parking brake doesn't affect them because their class does not attach to the body, despite being attached to the actual frame. So that's stability wise. As you can see, you've got a lot of gyros on the top. So yeah, I'll start yabbering then and I'll give it a little test. I am slightly uphill, so pressing 1. So as you can see there, its function is relatively simple. 3 legs down and they swap over. Again, because I'm only using 2 timer blocks, as you can see when the frame lowers and the other legs lift at the same time, I can't make it so they're all lifted and then it puts its foot down and then it takes the next step. Because of the 2 timer blocks and the simplicity of this, it just does everything simultaneously, so it has to lower and lift at the same rate. I can't adjust the rates of speed because again that causes instability. Because if the pneumatics push to the ground pretty hard, it starts kicking the whole thing up in the air. No matter, even if we've got the thrusters on as well. To a certain degree, of course, it will just start breaking itself. Hello, Bush. How are you? So let's just take a closer look there. It's just 2 pistons and all the legs. So control block 1 will tell the legs to contract and expand because they're zigzagged. Like I said before, the ones on the left, the middle one, then the rear right, that is one group. So it takes it zigzag steps and gives it stability. If you was to do it with 4 legs, you could get away with that. You might have to put bigger feet on though, because it would be just stop holding it in 2 corners. And of course when the ground becomes uneven, it might tip over. With the 3 setup and the 6 legs, it gives it more stability and it just looks damn sight cooler. So I'll tell you, I can jump out of here and you can see it doing its thing. Figure out which button goes forward. As you want there, so get a jetpack off. It does come down to a fairly low bit, which is probably actually head height, but as you can see, it's relatively terrifyingly like robotic spider just stepping over. Of course, if you want to squish people, you can do if you bring it just a bit lower or make the bottom like armoured and stuff like that, but right now it is exactly head height. Or exactly head height, in fact my hand touched it to do that. Here we are. Yeah, it is so close. As you can see, you just go in and out, do your thing. What am I doing with this camera? You lunatic. Okay, it won't allow me to do that. Oh, a spazzy moment there, but like I say, it's just purely hydraulics. No mods as well, these are just your standard hydraulics. Everything's no mods at all, which is a great thing, so you can do it off standards. I have put landing pads or whatever, landing legs on here before. I tried to use auto lock, I tried to use like say different types of wheels. I put them vertical, horizontal, left, right, I did put different blocks, all sorts of things, and it still sort of does the skid thing. The only way I can get the most distance per step is to actually keep the speed down. Like I say, you can make it faster. Obviously these are only 2 meter pistons, and I've got it as 2 meter per second on their function, so they're nice and steady, but it keeps it all nice and flowing. If you make it any faster, of course it's going to get from A to B fast, but it's still going to stop for that fraction of a second for the tick to happen. As I've got the clocks on at 1 second, which is as low as you can go, of course. So either way, it doesn't actually make it any better, it makes it more jerky. But just for pure awesomeness, just dodged that one. This is probably the best out of the lot. Let's just get in there. So from the top here, yeah, just going along, you know, just doing my thing. Let's go to view. Everyone likes a slide shot, like something else in this thing. So what I'll do is, again, just turning it. It's got quite a lot of gyros on it for what it needs. I can really throw it around if I want, but you know, it's just there for what it is. Like I say, it's kind of in development stage really. The thing about this one is though, it's scalable. You could build this out, which I did before. You build it out of large ship blocks, and you only still need exactly 2 tiny blocks set up to run one to the other, and then tick each function of legs, and it's scalable. You could have this thing where it's not just one piston extended per leg. You could have 100 pistons, and it obviously can contract at 5 meters per second. You're going to cover a hell of a lot of ground in a single step. It will appear very slow, but obviously for the meters per second covered, it'd be pretty quick. But as you can see, I'm just doing my thing. What I will do now then is go inside of it. Let's just bring it to a stop. So to a stop is the left leg fully extended like it is, and at any point you can press stop within that movement, because it just waits for the tick to stop. So that's its start-stop position. You can't change it. You'd have to have more blocks and more functions, and just make it more complicated than it already kind of is on the inside. Like I say, function-wise, this is got to be the complex one, really. As you can see, the parts there, just 2 timer blocks down the bottom here, and then the rest being just all pistons, the ones on the external of the body, the ones that are attached to the body itself. Plenty of gyros and steps. As you can see, this one here groups. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 groups. Excuse me. So the 9 groups itself. Action refers to the start-stop function. I've just put that so that it's doing something. So that's actually the blocks you see on the outside there. Forward 1 is the left side. Pistons extend outwards to get the reach of the step. From the left side, obviously left side, middle, and then rear. The rear is in a separate group. Like I say, it's a bit technical on its setup. So that's just extending the legs. This is the right side. We go from like in the background here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but from the right side it's contracted at the minute. So that's opposite. Left side 1, right side 2, rear forward 1. Again, 1 refers to left. I've just put it that way. and then rear forward 2, which is the right hand side of the rear legs. They're separate groups because the pistons are reversed. And again with the steps, each one's got a step in itself. Step 1 is just the front and middle leg. Step 2 would be the right side front and middle leg. Rear 1, again it's just a rear leg. So even though there's 9 groups within the setup, it's actually only technically 3. It's just because the legs are reversed, it's going to make it add more groups to get the functions out. And if I go then to the timer blocks, so this is probably the more interesting stuff, set up actions. Again, so this was when I had feet on it, so I can actually get rid of that one. So again, there's timer block 2. Right now, we're looking at timer block 1. So on the control of timer block 1 is timer block 2. They control each other, they keep the cycle going. Piggybacking off those cycles, I have forward 1, forward 2, which is basically left and right. And then rear forward 1 and rear forward 2, which is still all these 4 functions here, are just the pistons extending to get the reach of the step and contracting. One block does the whole lot. It's very simple. And then as for block 2, so again looking at block 2, so it mentions block 1 and it tells block 2 triggers, which triggers the feet. So again, step 1, step 2, step rear 1 and step rear 2. Because they're reversed, it's still just 4 functions, 4 pistons, extend and contract. Each one of these is set up on reverse, so you will have to pull it into its position to take a step like its stance it is now, and then you just set it to reverse. You don't need to pull it on to extend or contract or this, that and the other. You just pull it on reverse, so it will do exactly the opposite of what position it is in the step that it needs to do, and it just cycles through. So really functions, it's simple. 2 blocks, extend a piston and contract a piston, that's it. But the groupings, a bit complex, especially when I was trying to figure the damn thing out to tell you that. But as you can see there, so their delay there is 1 second, and that will result in me pressing the wrong button in just again the walking motion. Very simple but very elegant. If I do use the thrusters to push it down to the ground, again that's the only way that I can find to give it more grip. If I don't have the thrusters, it doesn't lose a massive amount, but it loses probably at least half a meter per step. So I'm actually walking 1.5 meter, and it just looks slower, and it is slower. So it's surprising how far away I walked. I was actually parked right over there. So I guess I'll also move this one to stop. So I wait for the left leg. As you can see, it's extending, and now the foot's down. Press stop, and that's in its standby position now. So yeah, these are the 3 little walkers that I've made. Each one simple in its own right, complex in its own right, but fun, definitely for both. I might even have a race with these 2. Just stick them together, use the merge box, stick them together, see what happens. So again, this is just the paddle boat, I guess. Oh, there we are. So we've got the paddle boat, the stomper, and then the spider over at the back there. And I guess I might as well shove it in there. So this is one of my own design. This is my little get around car. It's pretty beefy, pretty cool, and it can do vertical climbs, and it's got hydraulic jack, so if I break a wheel it lifts the whole frame up, and I can just slap another wheel on. No blocks are in the way, so there's no problem with that. All behind here is cargo container. Of course it's got weapons, cool spike things just to make it fun. It took a while to develop, and it's what I've been using to get from A to B around this place. As you can see, undercarriage is protected as well, so it's raised. Plenty of thrusters to get it off the ground. It's fully flight capable, and it just does really nice, and I can have lots of fun with it. Gotta help anything that I hit, because I damn well destroy it, I'll tell you that, unless it's a really hard piece of rock. But I've had, again, this has took me from A to B. Actually, parking brake. I can turn the rear thrusters off, so now I'm operating through off the motors, running at 18 kilometers an hour. It's a rock crawler by design. It was originally a rock crawler that I know I can do all sorts of things, but I thought, hey, we've got an Earth here. The developers have made a planet. Instead of flying above the planet and kind of going, oh, it's a big jump, I'll fly over that. Why not drive through it, around it, over it, in some way, explore the ground in its different functions. Obviously, this is Space Engineers. I know it's about space, but it's also about engineering. Coming over to, you know, finding issues and solving it, I guess, in a way, for each person their own. But as for this little beast, absolutely loved it. It does all the stuff, bells and whistles. Press 4, press 5, and away we go. It does have a hell of a lot of maps, so it's nice and steady. And of course, if I press 9, you can light anything up. I do all have all of this in survival, of course. It's all developments, I've got these blocks to get to. One of the things I don't actually have for this is actually I'll go upside down thrusters. But let's say if I was to just turn the thruster off right now, not going to give a rat's ass. It does really nice. So I might even release this onto the workshop, possibly. I have had it up to 300 kilometers an hour on the ground, using the thrusters of course, and in a straight line. Oh god, it does a jump. It does all the best things in the world. But enough about this thing anyway, it's just me, I guess, kind of saying, I built something really cool. Yeah, my car, my little Warlord. In fact, I might release that as its name, Warlord. Yeah. But yeah, this is a little showcase. They're all over the place now. That one's behind a bush again. But yeah, these are my 3 little walkers. Well, guys, thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and I'll see you later.